Hello, this is Rogers Redding, National Coordinator of Football Officials, and I want to welcome you again to the fourth in this series of videos that we are producing for your enjoyment and for your understanding of the rules of the game. I believe that you'll agree that we have a number of interesting plays on this week's video, a number of plays that illustrate various aspects of the rules. Well, okay, let's get right to the action. Here's an example of illegal motion that we don't see very often. Notice that the player that is on the end of the line to the right side of the formation. Now he's moving at the snap. He's sliding out, but he's still in motion when the ball is snapped. Now we know that it's okay for the offensive team to have one man in motion at the snap as long as he's moving laterally or backward. He can't be moving forward. But that man must not be on the end of the line. So it is illegal for a player on the end of the line to be in motion at the snap. And so this should be a foul for illegal motion. It's not a major foul, it carries a 5-yard penalty, but it is a foul. One of the requirements that the offensive team must satisfy in football is that they may not have two players in motion at the same time. Two players in motion at the same time is called a shift. In order to be legal, the offensive team must not be executing a shift at the time of the snap. If they do shift, then before the ball is snapped, everybody must stop and be motionless for 1 full second. And you can see here that that doesn't happen. You can see that a back goes across the backfield while the tight end is settling in, and then that man stops. The other player comes back in the other direction across the backfield, and he's still moving when the ball is snapped. So this is an illegal shift. The penalty is 5 yards from the previous spot and replay the down. This play shows us an example of an ineligible receiver going downfield on a pass. Notice the two players to the right side of the formation up on the line of scrimmage. Now they both go downfield on this pass. The guy on the inside, however, is covered up. That means he's not on the end of the line and he's not in the backfield. Now probably one of those guys is supposed to be in the backfield, but in fact both of them are on the line, which means that the man to the inside is not eligible to catch a pass, and this is a foul, 5-yard penalty for an ineligible receiver downfield. Now if he's backed up a little bit, if he's backed up into the backfield and they both go down on the pass, that's fine. But as long as they're both on the line of scrimmage, the man that's covered up is not allowed to go downfield on the pass. One of the rules in the passing game is that the passer must not be beyond the line of scrimmage when he releases a forward pass. It's okay to throw a backward pass or a lateral from beyond the line, but you cannot be beyond the line of scrimmage when you throw a forward pass. And you can see that this passer rolls out, he starts sprinting downfield, and just as he crosses the line of scrimmage, he throws a forward pass, and that's a foul. The penalty is 5 yards from the spot of the foul, plus loss of down. Now, loss of down is shorthand for loss of the right to repeat the down. In other words, unlike most common fouls, we don't repeat the down here, it is the next down. So loss of down means it's going to be the next down and not a replay of the previous down. This play gives us an example of offsetting fouls. What that means is that there are live ball fouls by both teams. And the rule is that any number of live ball fouls by one team offsets any number of live ball fouls by the other team. And offsetting means we just replay the down as if they'd never happened. Here you're going to see the player on the defensive line jump offside as the ball is snapped, so he beats the snap, so that's offside. And then you're going to see a receiver on the offensive team push off, that is, commit offensive pass interference, pushes a defender out of the way, and then comes back to receive the ball. You can see that pretty well on the replay. So these are offsetting fouls, even though standing alone by itself, each foul would carry a different penalty. The offensive pass interference, 15 yards, the offside, 5 yards. But nevertheless, they offset. So just a good example of offsetting fouls.
Pass interference, offense number 9, offside, defense, number 18, the foul's offset, replay, second down.
Here's a good example of a targeting foul where a player attacks an opponent with forcible contact by initiating the contact with the crown of the helmet after lowering his head. This has all the elements of a targeting foul. He lowers his head, he leads with a helmet to attack with forcible contact, and you can see that the player that actually delivers the blow is the one that gets hurt. And this is the reason for the rule being in place. The danger is of the head getting jammed down between the shoulders. You can get these stingers, you can get cervical spinal injuries, and so this play is a targeting foul for the use of the crown of the helmet.
Personal foul, targeting, defense number 25. That play is under further review.
This play gives us a good example of how a defender can legally defend against a pass without committing defensive pass interference. Notice that the defender waves his hand in front of the face of the receiver. He does this fairly quick, but you can see that he does this without making contact. Now, there is no such thing as a foul for face guarding in NCAA football. That is to say, it's not a foul to do what he did and wave his hand in front of his face. There has to be contact for there to be defensive pass interference. The contact has to be an obvious intent to impede the receiver from getting to the ball, and we don't have that here. But I wanted to show this to you because sometimes people believe that face guarding is a foul when in fact it is perfectly legal. Here we see a very unusual play where the receiving team on the kickoff has one of his players lie down in the end zone, and then the player who actually caught the kick turns and throws a backward pass to the player in the end zone, and then he returns it for a long gain. Now, the officials on the field judged that this was an unfair act. That is to say, apparently what was happening is that the receiving team had the player lie down in the end zone to sort of hide him. His uniform jersey matches the color in the end zone, and so it'd be unlikely for the kicking team to see him if he were lying on the ground. Now, it turns out there's nothing in the rule that prohibits this specific play, but there is a general category of rules which are called unfair acts. These are under the unsportsmanlike conduct rules, and it says that the team may be charged with an unfair act if they do something that is not specifically covered by the rules, but that seems unfair. And this certainly falls in that category. So they're charged with unsportsmanlike conduct, a 15-yard penalty enforced at the previous spot, and then the kickoff is repeated. So just wanted you to see this because there's been some conversation about this as to whether or not the crew handled this correctly. They handled it exactly correctly. It is an unfair act, and so judged by the officials on the field under the general rule for not allowing obviously unfair acts that are not otherwise specifically covered by the rule.
During the kick, unsportsmanlike conduct, receiving team number 6 laying in the end zone. The 15-yard penalty is enforced at the previous spot with a re-kick from the 50-yard line.
Well, that's it for this week. Thanks for your input and your feedback from the previous videos. Really appreciate the opportunity to do this for you. Have a great week. Enjoy whatever games you're watching this week, and we'll be back in a couple of weeks with some more plays.